We don't want to see our way of life go away. We don't want to see our standard of living decline dramatically. That's what's at risk. I think it's scaring the hell out of everybody. I think everybody should be scared.
This time is equivalent to 1929 through 1932. It is not equivalent to anything else.
The jury is still out on whether we've avoided Great Depression too. Unlike 1929, you do have the Fed and the Treasury pumping a lot of money into the system. But the question is, can you revive a corpse? What triggered this current crisis was subprime. With subprime mortgages, you could take a mortgage. They called them ninja loans. Ninja stood for no income, no job, no assets. And you could take a loan to somebody who might be a speculator, might be a homeowner trying to get his foot in the door of the American dream. And instead of having a policy of the kind that we had during the New Deal, where you give that family a starter mortgage that's a low interest rate mortgage, they gave them a mafia loan. They gave them a loan where it's 3% for the first year, and then it goes to 8%, then it goes to 15%.
The more bells and whistles in your mortgage, the more some company thought they could make money off of you.
You know, people think this is very complicated. It's not complicated at all. A guy decides he can get rich by making mortgage loans to people who can't qualify for credit. You say, well, how in the world can he do that? And the answer is, you charge them astronomical interest rates. Oh, but wait a minute, they're not going to pay it back. Well, that's not my problem because I'm going to sell the loan. Even before I make the loan, I've got somebody on Wall Street who's going to buy it. And as long as you got some sucker who's a bigger sucker than you are, you can keep passing the hot potato.
As long as Wall Street had an appetite, as long as Wall Street could say, you know what, just churn out the stuff, find people, get them to sell their homes, get them to buy 2 homes, whatever it is you need to do, that's okay because we've got investors who, once you package up all those loans that you are giving out, they're going to buy them.
The local bank no longer keeps the mortgage. He sells it to some intermediary who packages it up with a bunch of other mortgages, right, and sells it as a bond to the American public that is told they're buying a AAA piece of paper. Not a AAA piece of paper.
In the middle of 2007, people started trying to sell these bonds that were backed by subprime mortgages. Nobody wanted to buy them. And a whole bunch of banks panicked, and a whole bunch of hedge funds went bust, and then the whole downward spiral began. And then it took about a year and a half, in the same way that it took a while after the crash in 1929, it took a year and a half before the system went critical. Now, an intelligent person would say, well, wait a minute, where were the regulators? And the Democrats in 1994 passed a law to make this illegal. And Alan Greenspan, who was then the chairman of the Fed, said, I'm not going to enforce that law because I think Wall Street can regulate itself.
And in 1999, a genius by the name of Phil Gramm, aided by a brilliant president named Bill Clinton who signed the bill, and pushed by a free market ideology that had been peddled to the United States people since the day Ronald Reagan was elected, said, we don't need Glass-Steagall anymore. We haven't had bank panics. In fact, not only haven't had bank panics, but it would be better if we let the free market operate.
How did all this lack of regulation come about?
In the core, when it came to economics, always consisted of these free market libertarians who wanted to repeal the New Deal. That was their agenda from the 1930s up until the present.
Well, I think a lot of it goes back to the Greenspan years where, I think Alan Greenspan was a very smart fellow and did, I think, a lot of sensible things. I think he made 2 very profound errors. On the one hand, as the market bubble built up in 97 and 98 and 99, and Greenspan himself referred to it as irrational exuberance. He could have readily nipped that bubble by simply changing margin requirements. He was urged to do so, and he declined to do so. I think in the name of ideology. No, we're not supposed to have regulation. The market always knows best, and so why should we restrict people's ability to gamble?
I made a mistake.